a remarkable talent. I mean, he got into one of those zones, and I've said it many times. It's all right for regular players to get in a zone, but when you're the best player and you get in a zone, that shouldn't be fair. And it wasn't fair.
Access, watch the progress, can't be done, man, I'm the champion.
Yo, welcome to Worldwide Lakers Talk, Worldwide Laker Gang for Life. We are in the place to be. We got a whole lot to talk about. We got a guest with us today. We got Coach Verb, who coaches the boys basketball team at Palisades. Give it up for the champion.
Yeah.
Shout out to the champ. Yeah. We got B-Red, our usual suspect, is in the house, is in the building. Before we get into it, Brandon Red, just tell me a little bit, because I want to play a couple of videos for you. All right. But just tell me a little bit about what you saw. Just tell me a little bit about what you saw last night.
I mean, I saw the Clippers being the Clippers, man. I don't know, whatever you're gonna call it, man. Whatever you're gonna say, Clip's gonna clip, Clipper curse, whatever it is, man. Like this is the second time that they had a contending team that was supposed to go on and win a championship, or at least compete for a championship, blow a 3-1 lead, in which they had the lead in the closeout game 5. Like you can't make that up. And this was the year we were hearing all this stuff about like how they just from the beginning they had the players, they had the depth, they had everything that it was. And last night, like they just gave up. I mean, there was no fight. There was no all the other game 7s and the bubble so far were good games. They came out to the last second. This game was over, I think, like, early in the fourth quarter. Like we were just like, you know what I mean? Like so.
No. All right, can I share something? Is it all right if I share something?
Share something.
Let me share something.
Please do.
Okay, let me share something. Let me share a couple of things real quick.
Uh-oh.
Is the volume up? I can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
Mm-mm.
Hold on, y'all can't hear it?
Nah. Turn me up.
Oh, y'all can't hear it. All right, hold on. Let me get it together. I want y'all to be able to hear this. Y'all need to hear this.
Everybody got to hear this, man. We got nothing but time, man. We wait until Friday anyway, so take your time, brother. We've been sitting back resting up anyway.
What's funny about this is I just saw this like an hour ago.
Oh, yeah? So you already know what it is. All right, let's see if this works. Tell me if y'all can hear this.
Are we in the Matrix? What happened?
No, I can't.
Oh, man, it sucks because it says share audio, and it still ain't sharing the audio. Oh, I really want people to see this video, man.
We got some Clipper haters in the tech right now. They're trying to keep us from hearing it.
Well, yes, all right. So basically,
look, I heard this like an hour ago.
All right. So tell them, give them what they said, Coach Verb. Tell them what they said. Can you hear me?
Man, she was the main one doing all the woofing. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, she was the main one doing all the woofing, and she said, Kawhi Leonard is plug and play. You can put him anywhere in any system, and he can fit and he can make it go. When you're dealing with somebody like a center, like Anthony Davis, everybody got to get used to him. First of all, she started off with who is going to stop? I mean, who's going to score on the Clippers? Then she asked, who are the Lakers going to stop? Then she said, not only does Anthony Davis have to get used to everybody, and everybody got to get used to him, they all got to get used to LeBron. That's where she went with it.
That's pretty much the summary. But I feel like that's pretty much the summary and the summation that we heard from all of the pundits throughout the beginning of the season. So before we get into the show, just let me break a few things down for you. The Clippers were picked as the favorite, not only for the players that they acquired. It was said that Clippers had the better players. It was said Clippers had the better coaches. Clippers had the better shooters, the better bench. They had 2 Sixth Man of the Year award winners. And candidates, multiple candidates. You know, they've been candidates multiple times. They supposed to have everything that they needed to get past the second round. And Black Vinny Del Negro has still not gotten past the second round as the coach of the Clippers.
Hey, but you know what's crazy though?
Vinny Del Negro.
You know what's crazy though, and I didn't really notice it until, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't really pick up on it until shit started getting bad. Is that all those things people looked at that they have better than the Lakers, right? Except one key element, and that's leadership. And people can say what they want to say about LeBron. LeBron is a very vocal leader. He has a high basketball IQ. He's like an extra coach on the court. Same thing with Rondo.
Indeed.
Rondo actually has LeBron's ear. Rondo tells LeBron stuff. And then people could say, well, AD, whatever AD calls out, he calls out LeBron defense from the gate. So we actually have players on our team that and this stuff don't really show until you get some adversity where you need those vocal leaders, because it's sometimes the coaches can't always come from the coach. And because when you look at Kawhi Leonard, and I mentioned this on the last show, Kawhi leads by example. Paul George thinks he's a leader, but he's really a follower. And Pat Beverly, he just ain't that dude that he actually thinks he is. So it's crazy because we actually seen, although, in the irony that I'm about to bring him up in the context of this team, is that although Chris Paul wasn't the same Chris Paul that he was before, but you could see where his leadership actually made that team excel beyond their expectations that year. And although the Clippers might have, you know, the deeper bench, whatever, but they don't have is better leadership. And I think that really showed once some adversity really hit.
What did you see, Brandon Red? What are some of the things you just, you know, before we get into the ins and outs, just some of the outside things that you saw coming into the season, some of the things you saw that people seem to have touted as that to make them the favorites that didn't quite curl?
I feel like the Clippers from the beginning bought into the hype, their own hype. You know what I mean? Like even from Summer League, when Pat Bev was like right there baseline watching the games and stuff with Kawhi and PG, and they said that he was you know, doing stuff outside of the games and stuff, talking trash to LeBron and saying we'll see you in the Western Conference Finals in the Summer League. You know what I mean? Like from the beginning, like Pat Bev led the whole key in and stuff like that. Right, you were there, right, Q? So you kind of saw that live, right?
Yeah, I actually AD. Who was it? It was AD, Kuz, and LeBron had walked in. Not only Pat Beverly was putting on the show talking trash, also Clipper Durrell was there talking shit as well to him. And so, you know, just out the gate, they was coming for him. I mean, the Clippers was pretty much talking shit out the gate.
Right, they were just overconfident, and I think when you buy into the hype too much, you know, and you think it's going to be given to you, and you don't got to go out and actually play the games and earn it, it doesn't happen that way. I don't know if y'all remember, but I'm pretty sure y'all do from the NFL that year when the Eagles had that stout team when they had Vince Young and they had Michael Vick, and they got those corners, and they had all these players, and then Vince Young went out and set the dream team, and they went out and didn't even make the playoffs. It was kind of similar to that to me with the Clippers this year, where they just thought they had everybody on paper. They had, like you said, Dame, 2 6-man of the year candidates. They had PG, Kawhi, Pat Bev, all first team defense. They was like, nobody gonna score on us. They just thought it was gonna go out and be given to them. They didn't have to earn it. They didn't have to learn how to play together. They were taking games off, and Lemon Pepper Lou going to the strip club and shit and getting wings, and they never really seemed to sit down, buckle down, and focus on the actual basketball part of it.
Yeah, let me go to Coach Verb. Tell me some of the things that you saw from a coaching standpoint throughout the season that you felt like, this might not be it.
Ended to that. Like, it actually seemed like I mean, they were legitimate contenders. They were always, top 5 in the West or top 4 in the West. So nothing ever lended, but it really just became who shows up in the playoffs or which team shows up in the playoffs. And I mean, obviously we started talking about it, and, me calling dude the Black Vinny Del Negro. And I had been saying it since Doc Rivers was there for year 2 with the Clippers. Like, he has done nothing more than what Vinny has done. Won the same amount of games, lost at the exact same time. So at the end of the day, when you start talking about results, that's what I saw. Those are the results we're looking for, not the flash. It wasn't the Lob City back then. It wasn't this super ultra defensive team. Now, it just, at the end of the day, you lost in the second round with the same amount of wins as Vinny. And they had to get over that hurdle. And this dude has done this 7 straight years in a row. So for me, I was just waiting to see if he would get over that hurdle. Because having 4 Hall of Famers and winning one time didn't do it for me. I don't think he's a bad coach. Not a bad coach, but he ain't the greatest that they put him out to be. And I think with talking about what Brandon was alluding to, like, you're supposed to do that. When you get the big signings, you're supposed to do that. You know what I mean? You're literally supposed to be hype. You're supposed to be out there showing. Bron had on his fresh Lakers shorts that everybody has now, and you know what I mean? Because with Bron, they got AD on the way, and that's how it was. That's how it's supposed to be. But at the very, very end of it, and all I really care about is the results, you got bounced in the second round like every other year.
Think we losing you a little bit, Verb. I don't know what happened.
Don't push that.
Hold on. Yeah, man.
Wow.
So listen. Okay, there you go. You back now. So check it, man. I agree with everything that all y'all
sign
said.
outside back in another device.
Try it. Yeah. Try it. Try that, man. So my thing is this. They were front runners, like you said, Quincy. They was hyped, talking smack to everybody since the beginning of the year. They even was talking smack to people during the playoffs, telling Dame Lillard he need to, get ready to go to Cancun, even though they wasn't even playing him. Even though they also was happy the Lakers had Portland because they thought that was going to do something. But we'll talk about that as well. So look, Clippers gonna Clipper curse, whatever you want to call it, the curse of Donald Sterling, the ghost of racist past, whatever is still around them dudes. Same old Clippers, not only to lose a game 7 to Denver, but it looked like they gave up to me. Like the middle of the third quarter. They gave up on this game. There was no intensity in the second half. The superstars that have been lauded so greatly, it's not been there. So that brings us to our first Mamba detail of the day. Lakers held up their end of the bargain. Man, this shit felt like the Kobe and LeBron puppets all over again. We've been waiting all season for a certain matchup and couldn't get it, didn't get it. We've been waiting this whole time to get the battle for LA. Everybody been talking about it. Everybody been trying to get this thing together. Lakers wanted all the smoke. Clippers and they fans wanted all the smoke, but they just couldn't get it together. And now for me, because I didn't talk about what I saw, for me, and I talked about this extensively with Quincy and Brandon throughout the season, I feel like they were not respecting the process. They were not respecting the regular season. They were not respecting other teams because they were so focused on the Lakers. And I even told Quincy, I said they only get up and play well. And when I say well, I mean like when they look like world beaters. The only time they get up and play very well like that to me was when they would play the Lakers. Like it was like they were a different team when they played the Lakers every game. That was to me one of the things, and also they was always bragging about, we 10-0 with our starting. Like that's not, to me, I was like, that's not a brag, because that means y'all only played 11 games together out of 50 something games. You know what I mean? Like the chemistry is gonna suffer. The chemistry is gonna suffer because of that, and I feel like that's what we saw come to fruition in the playoffs. You know what I mean? So first Mamba detail, we held up our end of a bargain, making it to the Western Conference Finals. The Clippers had not one, not two. They had 3 opportunities to punch their ticket to the first ever Western Conference Final, and they still haven't got farther than they have with since Vinny Del Negro. You had Coach Rivers, who blew his third 3-1 lead. I don't know, man. I don't know what happened. So, talk to me, B-Red. Kawhi had a bad game in the fourth quarter. Game 6, even worse than Game 7. What did Denver do to frustrate him offensively?
I mean, for me, it looked like they were more focused on like making, like his strength is the mid range, right? That's where he excels at. And it seems like they were more content late in those games to give him those open threes and kind of make him beat him with the three. He shot 27% from 3-point land in the second half of all the combined for all of the Western Conference semifinals. So I feel like they were more or less, you're going to beat us with a 3-point shot, and when you come into the mid range, we're going to send 2 defenders at you, or a bigger defender. Most times it was Jokic, sometimes even stepping out on them, making those shot stuff. We saw Michael Porter Jr., who's a taller defender, defend him in the mid post a lot, mid range. So I feel like they were like, you're going to beat us with that, and force the ball over to Paul George a lot more. And me and you and Quincy talked about this a lot in our own personal conversation, saying that Kawhi is not a playmaker. For some reason, Clipper fans have been saying, oh, Kawhi's a playmaker. Like, no, he gets assists, he makes plays. He's not a playmaker. So they made him have to be a playmaker as opposed to a mid-range scorer, and that just changed the whole outlook from the series, from Game 5 on.
You know what else? Just to get back on Doc Rivers, I didn't. It's a copycat league. Teams will watch one team, play against a team, and then implement it into their game plan when they go against that same team. And you remember the game in March when we went against the Clippers, where LeBron started, once LeBron realized that the Clippers were switching everything, what he did was he called over whoever Lou Williams was on to set the pick. And the Clippers were switching every time, leaving Lou Williams on LeBron. And the Lakers went on to win that game because a big part of that mismatch. That's what Denver started to do. And if I remember, we talked about it right after that game. Was it Game 5? Things start turning around. And we start yelling at Jamal Murray because he would have Lou Williams on him, and he became passive after they switched. I guess at some point, somebody must have noticed what we saw on film, and once they made that switch, Jamal Murray was aggressive every single time. And it's crazy because Doc Rivers never adjusted from that. The only thing he would do, he would sub, Lou Will out, but they wouldn't need Lou Will on the court. So that became an Achilles heel for them, that teams realized that they were switching everything, and Lou Will was ending up on team best offensive players, and that really became a weak link in their defense.
Let me ask Coach Verb this. Coach Verb, what do you see? What happened to Montrezl Harrell? What happened to Montrez and what happened to Lou Williams? They had 2 Sixth Man of the Year award candidates who were used to giving them 20 buckets off the bench. Each of them supposed to give you 10 to 20 points a game off the bench, and they didn't show up. Not only in this series, they weren't really doing any damage in the Dallas series either. So what do you see? What happened, man? Tell me what happened.
It's hard to tell. It really is. It really is hard to tell. Because they were just as aggressive. They were just as aggressive offensively. They were just as aggressive. Well, not Lou, but defensively. But shots didn't fall. And they say it's a make or miss league, and you got to make them damn baskets, dude. And like I think, like Montrez had his flashes. You know what I mean? And with those flashes, you thought it was ever going to turn over and it was going to start rolling. It kind of never really did. But again, you're still talking about the playoffs when you got 7 games against the same exact team. People start clamping down on shit like that, and you start to understand that you got to add some more to your game. And for some people, whatever it is they do well, it shines. And then for other people, they got to start adding stuff to their package. Like, Lou's getting old. I don't care what nobody say, Lou's getting old. He's still an instantaneous bucket, but when you play a different team every night, you can do that. When you got them 7 games in a row, they start keying in on stuff, and they start knowing where you want to shoot the ball at every single time. They know exactly what move you're going to do every single time. Life get different.
Yeah, and I saw that
Coach,
too.
Hey, Coach Verb, let me ask you a question too, from a coaching perspective, and just your background in playing basketball as well. When you have to defend on the court, on the opposite end of the court, obviously, and you're there's a lot of energy playing defense, does that take away from your offensive game as well? Because like Quincy pointed out, Lou was forced to play defense on those switches. They attacked him on defense, and he had to move his feet on defense and stuff. And then Montrez was guarding Joker a lot on offensive end. So do you think that had anything to do with them having less shots falling throughout the series?
Maybe Lou, not really Montrez, because he doesn't really shoot a lot of jumpers. He shoots that 15-footer, somewhere around that 17 if you really stretch the floor, but usually about 13 to 15-footer. But as far as Lou's concerned, you started to see that with just about everybody. You saw that in the Portland series for us, like not us, but for them. Like you play defense that hard, that long, you put out, that kind of energy, boy, in the fourth quarter, and legs get tired. You don't even notice they're tired. Those legs get tired, man. You can't hit them shots. So I think for Lou, yeah, definitely.
And I know for this next Mamba detail, I'm gonna go to B Red because I want you to talk about Paul George and what we saw from him in the playoffs and what we saw from him this season. Take it away, B Red. We lost him.
Yeah, man. Everybody's connection is messing up right now.
Yeah, the connection is weird today.
Bro,
all right,
well, right next to the Wi-Fi joint too.
Yeah,
right behind me.
Well, it's different during midday. Like they say during midday when everybody's on at the same time as opposed when we go on a little later. All right, there we go. All right, B Red, you're back now. Tell me. Yep, give me that Paul George smoke. Tell me what you think about what you saw about Paul George. Damn it.
They don't want him to talk about PG.
They don't want to talk. All right, we're gonna let Quincy go first. Quincy, give me what you saw with PG.
It's crazy because as I was driving in, I was hearing that a couple of people are reporting that they might blow the Clippers up, starting with possibly trading Paul George.
What the hell?
Yeah,
that's fair though. That's honestly fair.
They said that they believe that they didn't realize the personality. I guess the personality that he has, they didn't realize that he had.
You mean the one that we all knew about?
Yeah, that we all knew about. That's who he is. And so, in our case, when you compare, I know people like to compare, because LeBron is the face of the team, and people like to say, well, AD is a beta, man. AD is no beta. You know, he has moments where he try, where it's hard for him to get engaged because he's a big man and he actually relying on wings and guards to give him the ball a lot of times. So he goes through multiple possessions without touching the ball. But in the end, as far as Paul George, like this is who PG has showed us he is. And you look at it, he got the perfect size. What he's 6'9", 235. And it seemed like he just one of those people. Whereas the other aspect to the game, which is the mental part, Kobe Bryant, Kobe always said that everybody in the NBA got game. But he said what separate everybody is the mental aspect of it.
Absolutely.
And what we see with Paul George year in and year out is that around this time when the mental part really plays, is very important. He tend to be, exposed, and this is who he is. I don't know who the Clippers was watching, or who Kawhi thought he was from afar. I don't know how close they was, but that's who he wanted. And that's who you get.
And that's who you get. All right, now we got B Red back. B Red, go ahead.
Hey, man, I gotta get the old school wired headphones. Then the other ones be dying. But yeah, to touch on the Paul George comment that Quincy was just saying about, like I'm convinced that PG is his legacy. He's dropped in tears, in my opinion, because I remember like he's supposed to be that guy, like when he went against Miami, and that was kind of like the peak of his career almost. If you're looking at it, we thought he was going to be the next dude, in that series against Miami when they went 7 games against a team they shouldn't even be in the series with. And then we fast forward 7 years later to last night's Game 7, and he was nowhere near the same guy he was as like a second-year player in Indiana. Like you're supposed to be, growing and your game is getting better, and you've been in these situations before, and you show that type of that mental fortitude in those Game 7s, and just the playoffs in general, and just PG he's shrunk in the moment again. I mean, shooting is just it's a rhythmatic thing, and he shot the side of hit the side of the backboard from a corner 3, like he was just not mentally in that game last night, like at all. Like he didn't want those shots. He didn't want to take over. Right. He didn't want to be the guy.
I don't know if you guys saw Paul George's numbers in Game 7s. I went back and I looked at his numbers in all the Game 7s, going back to the Pacers, even going back to OKC, and now with the Clippers, and a lot of the elimination games that Paul George has played in, he was like 1 for 4, like 3 for 11, 4 for 14. Just really bad numbers on a constant, consistent basis.
So Q, did you guys touch on the Lakers want to trade for PG yet? While I was out.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so my thing is this, and we know that we were in several Laker groups, and the thing in the summer of 2016 was PG wanted to be a Laker, right? And that's when the Lakers were still struggling. We were still looking to find that second star, that new star actually, after Kobe had retired, and that summer we had the number 2 pick alongside with a player we just drafted, number 7, Julius Randle, and still we found in the second round in Jordan Clarkson. So a lot of Laker fans, myself included, wanted PG. I didn't want to trade for him. I always said if he wanted to come, he can come on his own, but why give up our pieces? But if we traded for him, whatever, that would have been cool. But a lot of Laker fans, the debate was, should we trade Julius Randle, Jordan Clarkson, and that number 2 pick that later became D'Angelo Russell to Indiana for Paul George? We thought he was a number 1 type option player at that point. Now, later on, if we found out he wasn't even a number 1 option, but he could maybe be a legit number 2 once the LeBron rumor started a year later, like saying LeBron going to come to the Lakers. LeBron be the number 1 dude, he could be that legit number 2. He went to OKC when they traded for him unexpectedly, and we saw he couldn't even be a number 2. And then this year, he had another chance to be the number 2 option behind Kawhi Leonard, and now he couldn't even do that again as a number 2 option. So I'm thinking from 2016 to currently 2020, we say that now, he's dropped from a potential number 1 option on the championship team to a number 2. So I think now he's really like a number 3 type guy, like a Draymond Green or a Chris Bosh or a Ray Allen or Kevin Love, where you have them as a number 3 option and makes your team unbeatable. But you can't depend on him as a number 2 option, because when the games get close and you need your number 2 to kind of like, help your number 1 having an off night, he's proven he cannot do that or doesn't want to do that or whatever. So from this point on, I'm looking at PG as that Kevin Love type player where you got to get a second superstar to go in front of him to really take those shots and be that number 2 guy behind your lead dog.
I don't disagree with that at all. I feel like you said, when he had a chance to come, when the Lakers were pining for him in 2016, we thought he could be that guy that you build around. We thought he could be that guy that had next up. It's looking like that's not the case, and I think it's not even an ability thing. I think it's more of a mentality thing. And if you ain't got the right motor, as we've seen with a lot of players, the ability don't matter if you ain't got the right motor pushing that car.
Hey, real quick regarding that. If you listen to his interview, he mentioned something about anxieties in the fourth. You got to really pay attention to that, because he told on himself. He mentioned anxieties in the fourth, and so them numbers that you were firing out, and then you got to think about how much they say. They say your butthole pucker up, and when you get tight on you. You know how the coaches used to tell you that when they hit you in the fourth, and you could see it when the game. First of all, the game slipped away in the middle of the third. First of all, when Denver took the lead and went up 1, the game slipped away, and that's just being 100% honest. I saw it, but in the fourth, you could see it when it was like 4 minutes left. He's like, damn, it's 13. Can we get it down to 8? Can we get it down to 7? It's 16. It started then, but you can see them all. They all started tightening up like, damn, we actually blew it again. And you could see it. And then that's when them jumpers started hitting the side, the backboard, and air balls. And I was like, they're falling. I swear to you, my wife was looking. She's like, what? I actually felt bad for him. Like, they're falling apart. You could see the collapse. But he spoke on anxieties. So when you talk about the numbers being a number 2, it ain't that. He ain't that. And it's fine. But he got anxiety issues.
Hey, Coach Verb, that's a great point. And to compare him to somebody else who has the talent and the ability, but also spoke about issues, was DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan said he had anxiety issues, and he was always that guy that was like almost there, like almost, you know what I mean? Like, why can't you close out? Y'all got the number 1 seed in Toronto, but he's a big advocate for mental health now. He spoke out and said, like, I deal with, depression and anxiety, whatever the case is. Him and Kevin Love too. So Kevin Love, who I said was a good number 3 option, he also spoke up about depression and mental, depression and things of that nature. So maybe that mental part is something to really take into account, because earlier in the playoffs, PG said he was in his head in the bubble and he had to step away. He was getting down or whatever. His phone, he had to turn his phone off or whatever. So that you pointing out that mental aspect is right on point, because I didn't think about that aspect, that he did mention it himself earlier in the playoffs too.
No doubt.
And let's not let Kawhi Leonard off the damn hook either.
Boy.
Let's not let Kawhi Leonard off the hook, who was supposed to be the greatest player in the world, the greatest two-way player in the world. I think people didn't realize, and I talked about this. This is the first time that Kawhi Leonard actually had a team that was constructed to win, that was built around him with actual expectations. When he was in San Antonio, he was like the 4th, right? He was like the 4th option, going to the 3rd towards the end of the career to the 2nd. And even when he was the 2nd, I don't think he won the championship when he was the 2nd option. They won when he was like the 3rd or 4th. Then he goes to Toronto, and they thought that was like a throwaway trade, and they were like, we're going to get him for this year and see what happens. And he lucked up into getting to the finals. But again, even that team didn't have expectations, right? So even if they would have lost last year, would any of us have been disappointed if Toronto Raptors would have lost? Would any of us been like, they blew it if Toronto would have lost last year?
No pressure.
So he got to go through, and then he goes against, not to take nothing away from their championship, but he ends up going against Steph Curry and the homies, because KD is hurt.
Yeah, he did.
Right.
He did.
Steph is hurt.
He
You know what I mean?
He played against Sacramento Warriors.
Yeah.
I would add to that point that this is the first time he's really been asked to lead. He didn't have to be a leader on the Spurs. That,
Right.
Right.
And then last year, you had Kyle Lowry, even Danny
He was
Green.
leader by face.
Yeah. When Danny Green signed with the Lakers, he said, "Well, you know what? I could go back to my role because in Toronto, I had to be more of a leader because a lot of those guys didn't have the championship experience, and Kawhi don't really talk. Kawhi leads by example. So, and then you had guys who like Mark Gasol. You had guys who actually been on teams where they had the lead before. Whereas this is Kawhi's first time where, the team looking at you like, hey, so, we need you to lead us and lead us verbally and vocally. And that has never been asked of him. And you can kind of see whereas because even during the time where Kobe, there was it Kobe was a good leader or not, when Kobe was still, trying to feel his way to being a leader, the Lakers brought back Derek Fisher. And Derek Fisher became the vocal leader, which allowed still Kobe to kind of be Kobe, which was, Kobe was tough on people and strict until players finally got, used to his style of leadership. But they brought back Derek Fisher, somebody that Kobe equally respect. And that gave us a good balance. But on this team, where they looking at Kawhi to lead because he's the one with the most experience
and the only one that's actually on the floor with a championship.
Yeah, with chips.
Right.
It's
Is Kawhi the only one that's ever been past the second round on the Clippers on this team, or am I tripping?
No, didn't PG play in the Eastern Conference?
Oh yeah, okay, and PG, yeah. I just said that, yeah. So just him, yeah.
But I don't think PG was the leader on that Pacers team.
No, he wasn't, because that's when they had Danny Granger, they had Roy Hibbert.
I don't.
He got the breakout like Kawhi got the breakout.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, so now this is that. Look, you have to, because even on OKC, we already know when you were Westbrook, we already.
Yeah, you got a chance to not be the scapegoat when you with Westbrook, because I mean, just for real, because we even saw it just in the Houston. We just saw it in the Houston series. Nobody's gonna blame Harden really, because they get to blame Westbrook. Like anybody who plays with Westbrook, yeah, they get to blame Westbrook. With Kevin Durant, who did they blame? Westbrook. With Paul George, who did they blame? Westbrook. So now, you know what I'm saying? So it's like playing with him, it kind of gave all of those people cover. But now, like you said, Quincy, he's in LA now. He's a Clipper. He got exactly what he wanted.
He got the expectations. Now it's okay. And then it doesn't help when the person across the locker room from you is LeBron, because there's going to always be a compare and contrast of how they run their teams, how they lead their teams, who could get players to come play with them. All that contrast.
Well, I think what the Clippers were missing was that Rondo, because even if Kawhi is not going to be that guy, then you need a Rondo that everybody listens to. That's an offensive leader and a defensive leader. As far as offensively, he could put everybody in their place. Defensively, people listen to him when it comes to assignments, because that's one thing that we've seen that has improved our team drastically in the
moment Rondo came back.
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? Forgive me for cutting y'all off.
No, go ahead.
Really think about what you were talking about. They didn't have any of that anywhere, like top to bottom. Like what the hell they pick up? Was it Reggie Jackson? Why did they pick bro up? Like they could have picked up a mind, like a basketball mind, a coach's mind who doesn't play much, right?
Vert,
Yeah.
to add to your point, did you see Kawhi interview?
No.
He said, I lack a basketball IQ like 10 times.
Okay, because he's a basketball mind. He is a basketball mind, but he just don't talk.
Yeah,
right. He like the Rain Man of hoops.
Yeah.
Okay, so with the Lakers, what they did, because obviously you got Bron being literally one of the greatest minds basketball's ever seen. No matter what we say about what he does, He for sure is one of the greatest minds, right?
Yeah.
Rondo is one of the greatest minds in basketball, period. We all know that. No matter what we think about him, same thing, right? But who's on our bench? Who's on our bench in the coaching staff?
Jason Kidd.
Jason Kidd.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Phil Handy.
Exactly.
Hey, you know what? I
So
would
you
even
talking the
Lionel
greatest
Hollins.
minds in the game.
Lionel Hollins.
You talking the greatest minds in the game
Hey,
on that squad, on the floor and off.
hey, I was telling my cousin this morning. I said, you know who gets the last laugh? Rob Pelinka. People shitted on Rob Pelinka.
Oh yeah, they poo-pooed on him.
So bad. And you know somebody else I would add to that list. And folks crack jokes is Jared Dudley.
Yeah.
And
Bro, brilliant.
And it was Jared Dudley who told Kuzma, look, you're not going to get 18 shots per game with AD and Bron. So what you have to do on them games where you get 6 to 7 shots, you have to find other ways to be effective on the court. That was Jared Dudley that put that in Kuzma's ear. Mm-hmm. That's when Kuzma started rebounding, started hustling on defense. He started finding. So even then, when folks be laughing at, with certain vets, sit on the bench. Look, there's a reason Phil Jackson brought Ron Harper and John Sally over in 2000. Like I said earlier, there's a reason why the Lakers brought Derek Fisher back after he went to Golden State, I think Utah, and one more team I can't remember he ended up playing for. But there's a reason our team, our championship teams, made sure that we had those basketball minds. Everybody, like Bert said, everybody be looking at who's getting time, but it be them. You got to look at the bench, some vets on the bench who have high basketball IQs. And I swear to you, Kawhi said basketball IQ. We got to get better basketball IQ like 10 times yesterday.
Yo, you don't get that though. Like at that level, you don't get more basketball IQ unless you under a basketball mind as your coach. You know what I mean? And most of these coaches are not basketball minds per se. They're more to appease whoever the supers are and get somebody around the supers. That's what they do. They manage.
Yeah,
those coaches manage the egos. They're great ego managers, right?
Yeah, but the thing about Kawhi was helped develop by Pop.
Absolutely.
And
Phil Handy.
That's why he pointed. That's why he pointed to having the lack of IQ. Yeah. It means everything. It means everything, dude. And dudes play super hard, and if they don't have that leadership or that IQ, they're gonna be playing hard and losing.
Yeah, and I know people was, when Rob Pelinka was like, okay, well, you could pick one assistant, but we would like to help you pick your staff. And Ty Lue turned us down, and a couple other people and folks. Hey, apparently, because the other teams is mimicking. It's trying to mimic what we did and shit. Even Steve Nash is now trying to take Phil Handy from us. So,
right.
Well, yeah, and I think that's a big plot point that a lot of people miss is like if you look up and down this roster, veteran wise, on the floor, outside of Kawhi, they didn't have a Danny Green type player, right? Outside, they didn't have that Rondo type player. They didn't have, like you said, when they picked up Reggie Jackson, and everybody just kept saying they stacked. They deep. There's a deep team. It's a deep bench, but it was constructed a little oddly. And the only person, and I hate to give him props, but the only person who said in media that this team was constructed oddly and the pieces really didn't fit was Nick Wright. He was the only one I saw from the beginning say, there's some pieces on this bench. There's some pieces it's like they keep trying to go get these names. They keep trying to go get these, certain types of players. But something don't fit. And I feel like what we did, we took the Lakers took the regular season seriously. We took seeding seriously. And because of that, we were able to actually build real chemistry. Because I told Daniel this, I told Speed this, I kept telling them, I was like, look, I don't care how good you are. If y'all don't play together a lot, that chemistry comes through in the end. And we saw it that first year LeBron played with Bosh and Wade.
But you know what? Not to cut you off, Dan.
Chemistry. Go ahead.
But you know what the Clippers thought that they were going to be able to do, and it didn't work out. They thought that they were going to be able to have Kawhi and rest him up and rest up other players the same way Toronto did and have him ready for the playoffs and make a championship run like Toronto did. But what they forgot or didn't think about is Toronto was the number 1 seed prior to Kawhi coming in. They already had chemistry built up.
Sir.
So they just plugged Kawhi in, and those players have been playing together for years. So it wasn't like they needed Kawhi to fit in to really know how to play together. They knew how to play together. They just had to have Kawhi healthy for a run.
Yeah,
This Clipper team ain't played together.
Yeah, I would add, as far as the Lakers, although we did need the regular season for chemistry, a lot of our players have played together with one another on different teams. So it's not like
AD was important.
Yeah, so it's not like they completely foreign to one another. LeBron had Danny Green in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So these are players. A lot of them, although they are foreign together, there's a reason. I mean, Rob went and got J.R. Smith. Deion Waiters. These are people who have already played with LeBron James.
Instant chemistry, no matter what. If for nothing else, instant chemistry.
And like you said, I think Rondo was important for AD because there's been a lot of times, and what we saw when Rondo was out is AD go through 5-6 possessions without touching the ball sometimes when Rondo was out. Rondo has that mind because he just a natural point guard. AD hasn't touched the ball in 2 possessions. Let me find it.
Yeah.
Sometimes to a fault too, but it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Or he'll go find it. Or if Rondo knows that he's going to call his number. So when you have that type of like them coaches on the court, man, that is huge. And to Brenda's point, Toronto Toronto chemistry was already built.
Yeah,
they needed Kawhi to just go in there and finish games for them.
Yeah,
right.
It's crazy.
I mean, like you said, you got to give Rob Pelinka a lot of credit. Not to cut you off, Coach Verb.
No, you good.
But when he put the team together, even like JaVale McGee, who was a punchline, Shaq and the Fool regular. He's a 2-time champ. You know what I mean? Quinn Cook, who barely gets those games without playing minutes, is a champ. So they just all throughout this roster, he got players who know how to play a role and were behind great leaders and know how to play the game, the right way as far as knowing their role and just sticking to it and not pouting on the bench or getting too far ahead.
Could you imagine AD being the one on the team without a chip? Because Anthony Davis, as dope as bro is, he's the one without the chip, right? Like you said, Quinn Cook got one, JaVale got one, and JaVale's character, he turned around and showed that he's smart as hell. He learned a lot of shit up there with Steve Kerr and them. You know what I mean? He came down and showed he's actually smart as hell. He was up there tripping at first, and that's all.
Well, and I think one of the biggest differences between this Lakers and this Clippers team was the Lakers decided and they defined their roles, and people relished in the roles that were defined for them.
But that comes 100%. Back to what we were talking, what Brandon was talking about, what Q was talking about. Championships. Them dudes understand that that's the thing that gets them championships. Like they're willing to be like, okay, I cannot remember exactly who it was, but it was a couple years ago. Somebody was talking about they were getting clowned for not scoring any points in games. Bro, you average 2 points a game. And he was like, dude, I was brought here to lead because of my championships.
Jared Dudley.
No, him too. He was like, I was brought here to lead and to set like 14 screens a game. Like he signed his contract to set 14 screens a game. Like that, those are the ones who help us get to where you talking about, Dame, knowing those defined roles. You know what I mean?
100%.
And so when you have that Clipper team, they don't have any of that except Kawhi.
Hey, Coach Bird.
Yes, sir.
From a coaching perspective, you just coached a championship team, this past year. Congratulations again. Right? Yeah, congratulations again, my brother. So
appreciate it.
How hard is it for you as a coach? Because going back to Doc Rivers real quick, how is it hard for you as a coach to tell your players, like, hey, you may have a player on your end of your bench and you tell him you didn't get in this game, or you're not going to get in this game, or we need you to just to go hard in practice, or your role is to set screens, your role is to hit your free throws or play defense. How hard is it for you to sell that to a player on a championship team and to get them to buy in, more importantly, to that role that will help you get the championship you'll get if they buy into their role?
Great question.
Okay, that's a personality thing. Number one, for me, it's not hard. It was never hard to tell a kid, bro, you're not playing today. It was never difficult for me to tell them, because from very jump, I let them know that I was going to show them how to win. I told them who I was, where we came from, what my team was like, and I was like, okay, look, if you want to get there, we got this 3-year plan. Remember I told you guys a while back, I had a 3-year plan. So I took 10 sophomores when they were, and said, by your senior year, you'll win. So they rolled with me all the way through. So whatever I said, and I actually asked them all the time, did I lie? I said you weren't going to do this. Did I lie? I said you would do this. Did I lie? And so after a while, I just earned their trust of the fact that I just was not lying. And then there was that year that we talked about, Dane, remember where I called the Warriors games all within 2 points for the entire series?
Yeah.
Right. I did that for them. I told them their record 2 years in a row. And this third year, I said I wouldn't tell them. And then I told them after we won, and they were like, holy shit. I was like I literally, for me, it was just earning their trust. There was nothing else to it. And they bought into everything. Once I showed them as a point guard, because I play with my kids as well. So once I showed them that everything we talked about is doable and it works, I had all ears, I had all heart, I had all respect, and they would run through a wall for their teammates. And I let them know that it was never about us. I want to show you how to play ball. So if you need me, I'm here. But you'll be able to play on your own. So it was really, really easy. It was really easy. And I think just being with the pros is a little bit different because it's the egos and the money. It's a little bit different, man. So that's why I said, like, a lot of those great coaches are really good managers. They're really good managers because they got to manage the egos. I didn't have a lot of that. I had a bunch of kids who had never had anything.
Right. Okay. So look, what I took from that, the key thing I took from that, Coach Verb, is that you started it off by saying in the very beginning, you set a tone. You told them, you say, hey, this is the goal. I know how to get here. You got to do A, B, and C to get there. You set that tone from the beginning.
Absolutely.
Doc is a championship coach from the Celtics. Do you think maybe he didn't set that tone with the Clippers from the beginning and say, hey, I've got a ring. Kawhi has a ring. Anybody else who doesn't have one, this is what we got to do to get here. If you follow A, B, C, and D, we'll get there. Do you think he set that tone from the beginning, or kind of didn't, and we saw that kind of play out throughout the year?
No, I don't think he did that. I don't think he did that. I think what you mentioned online about the guys being feeling like they were being treated differently. Because Doc last year, Doc had dogs. Them dudes are dogs. But dogs come with spite and attitude. Like, we all grew up around gang culture. You know what I mean? We grew up around gang culture, and some of the softest, most gentle, are just mean, nasty dogs. They shoot people. You know what I mean? They're dogs, and they take it out on people when they play football. They take it out on people when they play basketball, and they are nasty on the court. But those dudes have egos that get crushed really easily, and they're like, well, damn, why we need this? It wasn't like this last year or the year before. We'd rather keep fighting. And they ended up holding that against them. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah. It almost seemed like what he built with the team last year when they was underdogs. It was us against the world. That whole mantra. It seemed like when you bought two, and I'm not saying that they are acting like divas, but for the purpose of the conversation, when you bring two diva-like players who like, we only gonna play this many games, we ain't playing no back-to-backs on the road, and you got all them dudes who dug for tooth and nail. I think that will cause some kind of dissension and cause some weird chemistry things within the locker room, especially, again, going back to what Quincy said, since Kawhi is not a vocal leader, so how can he really express that, right? Like, if he's not a vocal leader, he's coming in like, I'm not doing all the shit that y'all doing, and I'm not talking to you about it. You know what I'm saying?
Quick question.
Yeah.
Or not even really a question, more of a statement, but the Celtics didn't have that either. The Celtics was all dogs, even though they had the Hall of Famers. They was dogs. They didn't really have the diva shit.
No,
So
they didn't.
I don't even know if Doc could handle it because he ain't handling it well with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin either.
But no, Doc
Right.
wasn't handling that. Kevin Garnett was on that team. We
No,
know there's not
that's
a
not
more.
what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is they were all dogs.
No.
All of
I
them.
know that. But what I'm saying is the difference is the vocal leader on that team was Kevin Garnett. You don't get more vocal than that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Paul Pierce.
Rondo.
Yeah, Paul Pierce and Rondo even was so that's what I'm saying. Like even with that team, going back to what you said about those basketball minds, right? That team has some great basketball minds, but they also had people on the court who were an extension of the coaching staff and an extension of the voice of the coaching staff.
Right.
Because what I see with
Tony
the Lakers,
Allen.
what I see with the Lakers and Vogel and Kidd is Rondo is an extension of their voice on the court to the point where when Rondo comes in, he even makes Caruso play better. Caruso moves different when Rondo is in the game, when Rondo is in the building, then he doesn't. Because like Caruso would make really dumb mistakes and just do real small stuff. But when Rondo is there, it's like he tightens up. It's a different vibe. It's a different thing, right?
Well,
so go ahead.
I was just thinking about which I'm seeing games in my mind as you talking, and I'm looking at it, and really what the difference is Bron. Really, the difference is LeBron. It's the way that LeBron point guards versus the way that Rondo point guards. So when we all were we laugh and we clown about Rondo's jumper and shit like that. But when Rondo came back, the ball moved with Rondo's legs. When Rondo came in the game, he down the floor. Everybody take it off running. Because they're like, oh, this shit get ready to be fun. Right?
Yeah.
And now, mind you, LeBron never. We talked about this when Bron was losing championships. LeBron never makes the wrong play. You remember how we talked about it? He never
100%.
makes the wrong play, right? So he made that pass, and we were like, why the hell he passed that ball? He's supposed to shoot it. And they lost. He made the right play, right? It's a little bit different because Bron has to stand there with the ball, and he got 5 dudes watching, and he breaks down, he gonna make the right play. But this is why Caruso was making the wrong plays and making the mistakes, because he had to wait and sit and wait on the basketball and then decide. It's so much different. This is why basketball, this is why Denver is so good. It's why the Warriors were so good when they had that full scale motion moving, no set offense, because everybody was moving. You catch the ball on the slice, you can change directions, you can lay the ball up.
Well, Steve Kerr always say if the ball don't have no energy, it's hard to win in the playoffs. Literally the ball, and when he's talking about the ball having energy, he's talking about it moving, not staying in one person's hands
but
too long.
The body's got to move too, right? And so the bodies start moving, they start creating misdirections.
Even the triangle, going back to the triangle offense. Same thing.
It was calculated movement, but it still was all movement. So with Caruso, like I said, like if Rondo was pushing that rock, Caruso can cut behind him. He can go hide behind the screen. He can curl off of something. You know what I mean? When everybody is watching, it's a little bit harder because you got to catch it and then decide.
Let me ask you something, Quincy. What happened to the defense of the Clippers these last 3 games? Because we heard nobody gonna be able to score on this perimeter. This is the best perimeter defense with Patrick Beverly, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Montrezl Harrell in the rear. It was supposed to be the best perimeter defense the league has ever seen since the Detroit Pistons of 2004. What did you see? What happened to the defense?
Well, man, when people talk about basketball, a lot of times they talk about it from a playground standpoint. Like, okay, when me and you walk out on the court, we point out who we got. Like I got him, and we just, no matter what's going on the court, we stick with our men. In actual basketball, it ain't like that. It's a team concept. I remember debating with somebody. I said, you got to have chemistry on defense as well, and understanding your rotations and all that. So it's not like, well, we're gonna put Kawhi on Jamal Murray. They did that, but you got to now what you have to deal with. Jokic's gonna come up, give a pick. Now you got to deal whether or not you're gonna switch. Whether you're gonna stay, sometimes in the NBA, man, I tell kids don't watch the NBA because there's a lot of things fundamentally they just don't do. I like, watch college. Do not watch. I tell my son, do not watch the NBA.
That's real.
because just simple things when off a pick hedging, forcing a ball dribbler to hesitate just a little bit, so your teammate can have time to recover. They don't really do none of that in the NBA, and so what happens is, like I said, it became simple for Denver. Okay, who Lou Will on? Okay, cool, bring him over here because they're gonna switch everything. So we just the moment Jamal Murray got Lou Will, now we have an issue. And then the problem with them is that Jokic was a nightmare for Zubac because when Zubac was on him, he stayed on the perimeter because he knew he could take Zubac off the dribble. So now what Zubac started doing is start hanging around by the free throw line, which now giving Jokic wide open 3-pointers. So then when you downsize, which is their money lineup, which is Montrez at the center, I've always said this, is that the kryptonite to small ball is a skilled big man. And the reason why a lot of teams got away with it because you had the DeAndre Jordans of the world, all these players who came in with no post game really. So teams was getting away with small ball, but you go against small ball, you got a 7-footer that's skilled around the basket. I don't know if you guys recall. Remember that year we played Utah in the Western Conference Finals, and Bynum and Powell was destroying Millsap and Carlos Boozer.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because look, you can't once you got 7-footers against small people. At that point, now it's a clear height advantage, and you giving the 7-footers clear shots. And so, what that started forcing the Clippers to do, now you got to double. And when you double team somebody that's a good passer, like Jokic, like I have to say he's one of the top passing big men in NBA history. I don't know if he's the best, like they were saying on TV, but he's definitely in that top 5. He might be, he's definitely top 5. And so now you're doubling somebody who's actually got the passing skills better than the Clippers actually point guard. Jokic is a better passer than Patrick Beverly.
No doubt.
So now you double teaming and you double team. It's almost like you double teaming LeBron because you're double teaming our best passer on the court. And Dame, you remember I said, hey, Denver has missed a lot of wide open 3-pointers. If they start hitting them 3-pointers in the second half, this game is going to be over.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened.
It is.
The Clippers had to continue to double because Jokic was too big for Montrez and he's also too skilled. Denver started hitting the wide open threes. It's a wrap.
Here's what's a trip, right? You brought up them picking on Lou, and this is something I talked to Brandon about. I know me and Brandon clown and we talk about Steph, but here's what I saw. Like when people used to try to pick on Steph, they would send Steph from the corner. They would try to find whoever Steph was guarding and try to run him up to go set that screen, right?
Yeah.
But what they ended up doing, and this is team shit right here. This is that chemistry that you spoke of. These dudes would run. And like, let's say he was passing Clay to go get that screen set. Clay would just run and take his man, and Steph would just curl back to the corner to whoever Clay was guarding. Like they could never get Steph in that pick and roll. They could never do it. And if they actually caught him, they rushed him all the way out to half court. They didn't even give him a chance to set the screen. So that dude with the ball had to back up, and then Steph got to run away again. And and this we're talking about coaches' adjustments. Doc never made that adjustment. I remember that. And then also, what I said about, we were talking about Murray, everybody was like, oh, man, Murray in for a long series. Here we go. And I told y'all, I was like, yo, he's snaking the dribble just too much off the pick and roll.
Yeah.
And they were locking that shit up. There was dudes coming from the back blocking. There was dudes in the front blocking. He couldn't hit the damn shot. He stopped snaking that shit and just started getting to the rim and shooting, getting to his step back, shooting, getting to the rim, kicking to somebody else, and they started shooting. And that made all the difference in the world. So that defense collapsed solely because he put pressure on them. Because once he started snaking, he's looking around. He's making the wrong decision every time. When you get downhill and score, you giving the defense problems.
Yeah, well, look, let's get into this upcoming matchup now. Since we talking about the Nuggets, right? So this Friday, y'all, we got Lakers versus the Nuggets. I never would have thought I would be saying Lakers are meeting the Nuggets for the Western Conference Finals.
They dope. It was only a matter of time, dog.
Yeah, they a problem
team.
It
was like them or Utah over the last couple of years. Like one day they gonna crack through.
So, what do y'all think the Lakers will do that the Nuggets don't? I mean, what the Lakers will do that the Clippers didn't? I'll start first. I think the Lakers will take them serious from game one. I think Lakers will take them serious off jump because that's something that I didn't see with the Clippers. My brother Daniel and Speed like to say a lot. The Clippers like to play with their food too much, and it's going to come back to bite them in the ass. They feel like they could turn it on and turn it off. They feel like they could flip that switch like the 2000 Lakers and play half the game and be like, all right, we're going to turn that switch on in the second half and blow them out. And they thought they had that switch, and it didn't happen. I don't think the Lakers are going to make that mistake. And also, one more point I'll make before I, take it to the floor. We're going to start with Brandon Red. I think people don't realize how fresh our bigs are going to be because we just had a whole series where they didn't have to play. And we got 3 7-footers out there waiting for Joke. And it's not going to be the same because that's why he was such a nightmare. Because like you said, you got Zubac who couldn't move his feet with him. And then you just put somebody on him too small. Then Trez is just too small. I don't think our team is too small for him. I'm not saying that it's going to be an easy win either. But I think we pose some problems for the Nuggets that the Clippers couldn't. B-Red, what do you see for the matchup?
I'm going to start right there with what you just said about Jokic. We have the capability of being able to throw 2, maybe 3, like 7-footers that can guard him one-on-one. AD for sure. I'm thinking late in games to finish games. But in the beginning, like you said, our bigs are fresh. Dwight and JaVale, they can guard him out there on that high, the top of the 3-point line, one-on-one. So if you're not double teaming him, like Quincy just said when he broke down how they were beating the Clippers, no double team on him means it's not going to be as easy for him to get those assists, those easy passes when people are cutting off the double team, back door screens and all the actions they were running away from the ball. So by him being guarded one-on-one, that's going to help our defense as a whole overall. And like you said, with JaVale and Dwight not playing much against the Rockets, they're fresh and can go ahead and start the game off on him and leave AD fresh to guard him one-on-one to end out games.
Yeah. Quincy, what do you see? What do you think we're going to do?
Well, just to kind of piggyback on that, one thing about our bigs, they move their feet well to be bigs. JaVale, Dwight, they all move, and they definitely move their feet a lot better than Zubac. I think the biggest advantage is when we go small, we still big.
Yeah.
So when we go small, we got AD at the 5, so we still just as big, if not bigger. Jokic is a little bit taller than AD, I think, but we're still not significantly smaller. We're still a nice sized team out there. So I think the fact that when we go small, we're not big, and then on the other end, I think we pose some I think if JaVale and Dwight run the floor, that they would score a lot because Jokic don't like to run the floor. And if especially when you have a rebounding guard like Rondo and LeBron who could rebound and push, if they run the floor, they would get they're gonna get a lot of points in transition if they run the floor because Jokic do not like running the floor. And then I just think AD is going to be a nightmare for him because if he work him in that mid post where he has his triple threat, it's going because Jokic is not going to know what to do because he got to respect the fact that AD damn got handles like a wing player, and then AD got what I think he's shooting 55% mid range.
Yeah.
So he have to respect that, and so I think
and Jokic also have to play defense. This series.
I think it's a favorable matchup for us. But like I said, I think I ain't gonna take nothing from Coach Malone because he tend to make good adjustments. So we're gonna see whatever adjustments they make, can Vogel counter, and we go from there. I think the biggest issue that Denver are going to have is somebody got to check LeBron.
Yeah.
And this is one of those moments where I see they're going to put Grant on them, but this is where LeBron have to once again kill his mismatch. We were sending in the Houston series like, hey, they got Eric Gordon on you, bro. 1-on-1. You should feel disrespected.
Right.
Yeah.
Because at some point they're gonna start helping, and then and like I mentioned before, it's a copycat league. So what I'm quite sure Denver gonna do, they're gonna start off because they're gonna help Jokic. They're gonna pack the paint with AD. They're gonna say, hey, can 35-year-old LeBron still dominate a series? And then them shooters gonna have to hit open shots.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much going to be the formula. Can our shooters?
I think he froze again a little bit.
Who?
He's back. Verb, what do you see? What do you think we'll do that the Clippers didn't do, and what do you think of the matchup?
Okay, my biggest fear is what Q just said. The guards not hitting shots, but at the moment. They're rolling right now. Hopefully they hit their stride and they're good. Even if they hit half the shots, I think they're good there. I also need AD to not post up at 19 feet, 17 and in on the post up. But the mid post starts stretching out too far and it becomes a little bit different and weird. Okay. Now, we spoke about the three centers, right?
Yep.
But those three centers can also contain the pick and roll very well should they get caught up in a switch. They can handle that guard coming around, whichever one of the guards it is. Each one of our guards matches up speed-wise, and I think the one thing Denver lacks is speed. None of them have speed from what I see. Really good guys, really good players, shoot the ball, cut off without the ball, all that's fine, but none of them have like wheels. That's the one thing our guys have, our little guards, they have wheels. I think we got a situation where like Kuzma will match up well with Porter. They like the same, even though Porter is bigger, like more Huff. I don't see many mismatch problems for us. I don't see it. They also run a lot of dribble handoffs. They got a lot of DHOs and a lot of pick and rolls towards the top of the key. So from the free throw line and up. And it's easy for us being able to switch and stay in containment. And that's going to be the challenge. Just staying in containment. Stay in containment in front of them. What I always tell my kids is make them shoot over you, not by you. So as long as we're not giving up driving lanes and making them shoot jumpers over contested hands, not wide open jumpers, because I don't see us having to help a hell of a lot. I just don't. I don't see us having to help a hell of a lot. I won't see a need to double either. And then the way we rotate in our zone is special. It's really special. It looks like the way the old Warriors rotated in their zone. It looks just like it, like where they allow the middleman, the wingman, to come up and guard that wing, and the center sprints out, and then that top guard drops and takes the middle because they all big. They're tall as shit. It don't even matter how they do it. They cover all the spaces, all the ground, and it's hard to get a shot up. So with that said, man, I won't say something ridiculous and be a Laker fan. Just speaking as a coach, I just don't see any way Denver can win. I don't see it. I honestly don't see it. And it's no disrespect to them because I like what they do. But I just don't see the ability for them to win 4 games at all.
You know what? And you know what else? I think the players we had to face in the playoffs so far has prepared us for Jamal Murray, right? Like the first round, we had C.J. McCollum and Dame Lillard. Second round, we had Westbrook and James Harden. So this round, we're going to have Jamal Murray. I think because we had to play those guys defensively, and I know it's going to be a little different because of the Joker, but because we had to play them defensively on the perimeter the first 2 rounds, I think that's going to help us a lot in this round going forward. Now, before we get to our final point and get out of here.
Dame, real quick, though. Let me ask Coach a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, before we get up out of here. You and Quincy broke down the X's and O's perfectly, pretty much, letting everybody know, all Laker fans know how we match up well with them through all the plays and that are going to be run and our matchups and everything. There's no way that they can beat the Lakers because of those matchups. But They shouldn't have been able to beat the Clippers, honestly, because they were a better team in my opinion. But mentally, you have to be just as strong as you are on your X's and O's. As a coach, going into a game where you know your boys are better than that other team that you're about to play, but if your boys don't execute what you told them to execute, you guys can lose the game because of mental lapses. What does Frank Vogel have to do to avoid those mental lapses that Doc Rivers did not do, and it doomed the Clippers?
It's already built into the system. You know, you got a bunch of leaders already, so it's already built in. They're gonna take care of it themselves. You know, it's the money time now, so it's not like you can allow them to lose. Like for me, I actually let my kids lose. I'll let them lose. I'll be like, y'all try to tell y'all. And I'll sit back like this. They be looking at me like, dog, you gonna let us? Yep. Dude, I did it in the playoffs. I did it in the playoffs in the second round against Uni. We went down 17-4, and I didn't call a timeout. I sat there. I was like, I told you. They like, yo, you not going? Nope. I Phil Jackson. Nope. And by halftime, we were down 1. You know what I mean? But it's built into them. Like my kids, it's built into them. They've had that over and over and over. Now with these dudes having all these champs on the team, and these dudes who are willing to follow the champs on the team, be it coaching staff or be it player, we shouldn't have that problem. But Frank Gold, he can't stop that. If it happens, he gonna have to let them lose and figure it out. He can't stop it. He only got so many timeouts. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he can't stop it, but it's built into the program already.
Yeah, and I would add to that, like we have people on our team that been the favorite. You know, LeBron been the favorite before. Rondo been like our leadership actually been the only person that really haven't been the favorite in a series is AD. But even AD know from an underdog standpoint, from when they upset Portland,
yeah,
as the 6th seed. So, and then I think the biggest lesson, look what just happened to the Clippers.
Yeah,
right. That is it. Y'all don't want to be the Clippers, do you? On the bench, I'm out.
And because I'm sure the Lakers expected to play the Clippers.
Yeah,
I'm sure they expect that's who they expected to play. So if you don't, you know what's the saying? A smart man learn from his mistakes, but a wise man learn from the mistakes of others.
Yes,
yep.
Do you guys think their legs is gonna take a toll on them?
Who, the Nuggets?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Them
mental legs and physical legs.
I do.
I don't know, because them young boys be running. They've been moving and they've been 7 game after 7 game. It ain't stopped. But
yeah,
I do think
they their bodies too, though.
I'm finna say I do think they run into a different monster. Yeah, I think they run into a different monster with the Lakers.
I think we're going to see it probably around game 2 or 3. Because that's when and I think we're going to really see it. Like I said, because JaVale, Dwight, and AD are all thorough, they can run. So yeah. I think Jokic, if they do what I think they should do, which is run the floor and get them some easy points, that's going to tire him out. And then with Jamal Murray, you know, we could throw multiple bodies. We could give him multiple.
That's what I was talking about.
Okay, you're right.
We could give him Caruso, and give him Danny Green, give him some KCP. We could, I mean, basically what we thought the Clippers was going to do to LeBron, throw all these different bodies at him and try to wear him down. We could actually do that to Jamal Murray and wear him out with different, because Caruso make people work.
He had one of the highest defensive ratings in the bubble.
Yeah. So, you know, like Danny Green, KCP. So really, you got guys that, and we can sub these guys in and out fresh legs. Where Jamal Murray gonna pretty much have to play 42 minutes for them to
be in the game.
To be in the
game.
May
I ask one question? May I? For the 3 of y'all, you got to pick, and this is a coach's challenge. You got to pick, and then you got to live with it. Who do you have to allow you to kill you? And if they win, and then they just win in the series.
I'll make it Jamal Murray, because I feel like the team goes the way of Joker. They don't go the way of Jamal. If Joker is doing this thing, I think the rest of the team gets more dangerous. But when it's Jamal Murray, I would live with that. I would live with Jamal Murray being the one who got a kill.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm going to go with Jamal Murray, because if Jokic kill you, it's 34, 19, and 11.
Yeah. So he got everybody because he's the best passer on the team.
So he's killing you scoring, he's killing you on the boards, and then the 11 assists, whether they threes or not, you bounce it out. That's gonna be over 20 points either way in his zone. So I'd rather go with Jamal Murray, who he might drop 45, but it's gonna be with 3 or 4 assists.
Brandon, what
Are
you
we
think?
are we going with the whole team, or are we just picking between Jokic and Murray? Are we going with the whole team?
Well, I mean, between them two.
Between them two, I would go Murray as well. If we were doing whole team, I would pick Gary Harris, the same way we kind of like made CJ McCollum be that guy, and we made Westbrook be that guy. But yeah.
Understood. You know what's trip? I would do the exact opposite, and I would say the Joker.
Really?
I would say the Joker because when you say getting loose, like he got to score the points, right? And this is what I always said about the point guard. When you got a super dope point guard, if you start helping, then he starts diamond, right? But if you make him score all the points, then 4 dudes ain't shooting. See what I'm saying? 4 dudes ain't shooting the ball. And if they're not shooting the ball, what else are they not doing? Y'all know?
You said playing
4
defense.
dudes ain't shooting. Exactly. They're not
They're not
playing
playing
defense either.
You're not running back on defense if you ain't getting no shots up. You get that energy from playing offense.
Right? So what I was saying and what I'm thinking, literally, like what I'm thinking is I make the Joker score all the goddamn points and I don't help.
But see, that's the problem. So the reason I say the problem with that is only because Joker is their best passer.
No,
that's why I say
you can't pass if you don't help. Ain't nobody.
Got you.
I get what you're saying.
He gotta score. He gotta score 40.
Got you.
He can't get 25 and 14. He gotta score 40.
So basically, he's challenging the Joker to score 40 and be efficient against AD, Dwight, and JaVale.
Okay,
and
I see that.
Stamina.
I see that.
And his stamina.
Yeah.
So,
I'm trying to put out energy
another
to get
point.
buckets.
Another good point too with Joker. Like he ran into this last night, but it didn't cause that big of a problem. It's foul trouble because he got to guard AD too. So if you're making him be the vocal point on offense, and then he got to go out and, like you said, you're not playing defense as well. Them legs move a little bit slower when you tie from offense on defense, and you got 4 or 5 fouls. You got to play defense a little bit differently. So that's a good point, Coach.
Yeah,
that's why you're the coach.
That's why you the coach. That's actually a good point.
That's why he won the city championship.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
100%, right.
That's championship shit right there. So let me ask y'all real quick something that y'all I want to hold y'all to for the next, by the end of the series. Give me y'all prediction first. Give me y'all prediction on how many games, who's winning in how many games, and who is your X factor? Who is the player that we need in the next round that's going to be the one that take us over the top? Let's start with Coach.
Lakers in 5. Lakers in 5. And I think it's going to be real rough. The X factor will probably be Kuzma. I think the X factor will probably be Kuzma. He poses some challenges, and they got a lot of, like I said, he's faster than most of their guards. And he's big as hell.
Yeah.
I expect the guys who gonna do what they do to do what they do.
Right.
But I really do. I think Kuzma may be the X factor. And I don't mean like super ultra balling, but one who makes a difference for some times where we really needed it.
Right. Brandon Red, what's your prediction and who's your X factor?
I got Lakers in 6. I think what'll happen throughout the series, they'll probably lose, keep the same pattern, maybe give up game 1. Nuggets coming off of a very emotional series and still got momentum. Lakers will come back, and then when they try to eliminate them in game like 5 or so, the Nuggets may show some fight, and Lakers put them out in game 6. My X factor is going to be, I'm going to go with Dwight Howard. Me, you, and Q have said throughout the playoffs we're gonna see a vintage Dwight eventually. If not now, when? I think we'll see a couple of vintage games, a couple 18, 12, 18, 14 type games, double games against Jokic and that lineup because he's been waiting. He didn't get to play that much against Houston, and this is a good matchup for him.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see a couple of those games. We're like, okay, Dwight, we see you. Remember how you played throughout the regular season? You did give us some. You was the 3rd best player for a while throughout the regular season, and he'll be that guy. So Lakers in 6 and Dwight Howard have a couple of good games. All
right, Quincy, give me your prediction and your X factor.
Lakers in 5 is going to be Rondo, and only because I think that's who they're going to double off of. So if Rondo can make them respect his 3, I think that's going to be he tend to hit those timely 3-pointers. He did in the Houston series. So if he continues to do that, where teams they're going to walk away from him, and he make them pay, then I think that's going to change because at some point they're going to help.
Well, because that surely changed the Houston series. That surely changed the Houston series. All right, for me, I'm vacillating between 5 and 6 games because I feel what Coach said about I think we're going to get 5 because they just going to figure it out and they're not going to play games with them. They're not going to play with their food. But then I also go to what B. Red said about they coming off an emotional 7-game. Lakers been sitting. It's like that Lakers versus Philly when Allen Iverson that came in off that game 7 and they was ready to go and the Lakers have been sitting for a while.
About 2 weeks.
Yeah. So, but I'm gonna say Lakers in 6, and I'm going with Goat Russo. I'm going with Goat Russo is gonna do something. He's gonna get in there and Club Shay and do some things you ain't never seen.
Oh, go. That's right. That's right.
But either way it go, man, it's gonna be fun. Oh, before we get out though, because we got to give props to our squad today. LeBron and AD selected to the first team All NBA. It's the 11th time in Lakers history. We had 2 guys on the first team, Baylor and West, Magic and Kareem. Kobe and Shaq did it 3 times. Now LeBron and AD join those illustrious duos, and now you have to finish the job.
Yes, sir.
And I think they will. Hey, man, I want to thank everybody who was in the comments. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. If you're on YouTube and Periscope, like, share, and subscribe. Everybody on Facebook, like, share, and subscribe. Let people know about this. If you know Laker fans, this is a Lakers show. This is a Laker fan show by Laker fans for the Laker fans, where we talk for real Laker hoops and we get in depth with it. As you see, we brought the coach on, the champion, the city champion coach on today from Palisades. He came on and gave us some of that knowledge. And, I just want to thank everybody who's been watching. Again, share, because we trying to get Laker Nation to get on board with us. Worldwide Laker Gang for life. We want to thank everybody who joined us. We will see you guys, I'm thinking, after game 1. You will see us again after game 1, and we talk about what they did, what it looked like, what it's going to be. We'll see y'all later.
Right to the rim. It's about what doing it big or going home. I'm focused on my plan, in my mind in the zone. I wanna be one of the greatest that ever made it, one of the best that did it, coming with it. Understand this is all I think about, all I ever wanna do, all I ever work for. So ain't no giving up, and us to the limit, just to win it is a must. Now you see what it takes to be on top, don't stop. Now you see what it takes to be on top, don't stop.
Bryant for the win. He is a remarkable talent. I mean, he got into one of those zones, and I've said it many times. It's all right for regular players to get in a zone, but when you're the best player and you get in a zone, that shouldn't be fair. And it wasn't fair.